I am the children, they are me. That's what's most important. Everything else is on the side. You just have to keep that focus on them.
Welcome back to another episode of The Path Forward. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Rick Fernandez. We are here in San Antonio, TexEdCon 2024, and I'm here with a very special guest, first-time guest, Dr. Angelica Ramsey, Superintendent of Fort Worth ISD. Welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It is great to see you, and we're just going to dive right in because
Sure thing.
we're friends, and you're an authentic person, so tell us a little bit about what's going on in Fort Worth.
Yeah, so I am transitioning out. Monday is my last day as superintendent in Fort Worth ISD. I'll stay on for another 11 months in a different role, but it was time for, in the best interest of the district, I think, and our students, I always put kids first, to exit the position of superintendent.
Now, you have obviously been a very successful leader. Talk a little bit about your career path, because what I like to do is, as we're talking about leadership, it is very important that the next generation kind of hear and learn and get some insight. So if you would, just your career path.
Yeah, sure. So I started off as a teacher, an ESL teacher in Socorro ISD. On the border in El Paso, I became an assistant principal and then a high school principal there in Socorro ISD. Superintendent there, became a county superintendent in California, and took me along with him to be the chief academic officer. New superintendent came in there a few years later, and I became the associate superintendent. And then I was recruited for my first superintendency in Southern California. Now, very different world.
Now, talk a little bit about that, because I'm interested. I've got some buddies in California.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the differences.
Culture different.
Okay.
Definitely. Biggest difference is teacher association versus teacher unions.
Yes.
But unions in general.
Mm-hmm.
Many school districts in California, there is an administrator union, a substitute union, classified employees union, and a teacher union. So you really have to be good at bringing people together and explaining vision and bringing people along.
Which clearly you have been able to do that every stop of the way. So that's an interesting point. You have been trial by fire, if you will, learning that if I can't make this work and get everybody on the same page, it's going to be a tough go of it. So I didn't want to interrupt you, but I'm always very fascinated how people do school in other states. So
very different.
Yes,
definitely very different. I would say the best example of that is in California. If you want to look at a new initiative for teachers, or even planning time, which would sound like it would be something good. Like, hey, I want to give you more planning time. You have to make a phone call to the president of the union and say, hey, I'm wondering if you'd be interested in having a conversation about me so I can talk to you about more planning time for teachers.
You laid that out very, very methodically.
So very, very different. I served there almost 5 years and then returned back to Texas in Midland. I knew that was a turnaround academically. So since I came up through the academic kind of route of education, they really needed a strong instructional leader. And just a couple years later, I got the call and was recruited to come to Fort Worth ISD for the same.
Right.
And just completed my second year, my first full year. And in my first full year, I mean, we just had some amazing results.
Yeah, shout those out, because it's key to know like the impact that you've made.
Yeah, so a lot of structural changes because there was a lack of systems in the district. So we kind of needed to do that, like make sure that there were systems so that the people on the ground, the teachers, had the support that they needed, that principals knew who to call at the district office, changed the district office to a district service center, restructured how everyone at the district service center revolved around campuses, and then worked on capacity building of our school leadership, ensuring a viable curriculum, and then pushing in and loving on teachers. And so because of that, in year one, we were able to go, I mean, we did some amazing things.
Yes,
so
you
if
did.
you're talking about just map results, every single student group, I think the lowest number of growth was like 7 to 8%. Almost all the others, double digits. When you look at our ratings, in a year where the state stayed completely stagnant,
Yes.
we had significant increases in A and B campuses, C campuses, and decreases in DNFs. Just huge. We had campuses that grew 1, but we had campuses that grew 2 ratings in 1 year. Our career college military readiness went from 59% to 86%.
In that year?
In a year. Our reclassification rate of English learners went up 830%. Now, that's easy to do when you're really, really low, right?
Gotcha.
When you start at 0.84%. But 830% increase in 1 year.
Do you think, I love how you reframe the service mindset. Like, we are in here to serve the campuses, to serve the teachers, to make sure they have what they need. Do you feel like if you were to say there's the one big thing that contributes to all of that growth, is that the key component?
I think it's an understanding that the most important thing in a school district, especially if you're trying to turn around academically, is to have a focus on good tier 1 instruction. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, you have to provide service and support to the teachers.
Right.
And in order to do that, you need to build capacity of your leaders. I always say you're pushing, but you're providing support at the same time. So you're increasing expectations of everyone.
Right.
But you're providing the support so that they can get there. We don't treat anyone any differently. It's the same thing we do for kids. Mm-hmm. We don't say we're going to have low expectations of you. No, you're going to be able to take a dual credit class or an AP class, but we know we're going to have to provide you supports to get you there. We do the same with the adults in the district.
You know, Fort Worth is very unique, and y'all have had some interesting challenges outside of the control of the district. I mean, Tarrant County, the tax rate, all of these different things.
Sure.
Talk a little bit about some of specifically for aspiring superintendents, mm-hmm. the things that you really don't control, but you have to adjust to, if you don't mind.
I mean, context matters.
Yes.
Right. So very, very important as an aspiring superintendent to understand that it's not just a job, that you need to make sure it's the job.
Yes.
So that you understand you aren't rolling in and just because you were successful in one place that you can just do the exact same thing. That you can get along with everyone, regardless of differences in opinion, political stances, any of that is not for you.
Right.
That you are an advocate for children and that you need to get along with everyone. But you also need to know that school districts absolutely are impacted, and a lot of times negatively, from what's happening in that context.
Absolutely.
And knowing, do you have a strong stomach? Do you have a stiff upper lip?
Yes.
Are you able to take on what needs to be taken on to make sure that you're doing right by children? Yeah. And do you have the stomach for sometimes criticism and sometimes controversy to get what you need to get done for children?
That's 100% correct. And in full transparency, I think that I was not so good at understanding that and all of the things that kind of swirl that I've got to be aware of as a superintendent. How do you, when you see things and you hear things in there, they're just blatant fabrications, blatant lies stuff. And I see some of the stuff, in the media or in social media, and it's just blatantly, how do you take that deep breath and make sure, that's a skill set. That's not something inherent. That's not something that most people know how to do. How are you able to do that?
So when I was first appointed in Fort Worth, I think it was the Dallas Morning News asked me, from all of your leadership training, I've been in AASA Urban Superintendent Academy with USC, ILAS Cohort 4, military training, like all those things. What is it that best prepared you to lead a very complex place? And I said, growing up a poor Mexican girl.
Life.
When you have a strong Mexican mother, she always makes it happen. You don't know what's really happening on the inside, but somehow you always have what you need. And she learns how to tune out all the external noise. when you grow up in a place where you're the minority, which we're not anymore,
Right.
but growing up, we were the minority, no one cares about your comfort and no one cares to learn to live in your world. You have to care about the comfort of others and to learn to navigate two worlds. And so from a very early age, you start to see the complexities of the world and that life isn't fair. It just is. So when you grow up that way, is it angering when you see a blatant lie? Probably at first, but I've been an administrator a really long time.
You've got thick skin.
I mean, at this point, like I see it and I'm like, I know who I am.
Yeah.
We know that's not true. And we know that it's too easy for someone to get behind a keyboard or to go off of what someone thinks they said, that you just have to leave that alone. Let the noise be on the outside and ensure that you're providing cover. Because the way I always looked at it was, if the media and the blogs are focused on me, then my teachers can do their jobs, my principals can do their jobs, the board can do their job, everyone else can. But if I try to fight it or it goes in a different direction or I say that's not really what happened, you get caught up in it and it becomes more of a distraction. So I have pretty thick skin.
What has been so amazing is because I do follow our friends and I follow their colleagues, and just because of a general interest in education, I've often wondered how you just have handled it so effortlessly. And I'm like, how is she doing this? I was pulling my hair out. I was, it was hurting my family. And in not one time did you let all of that take the main thing away from what y'all were doing for that district. And I just have to commend you on that. And I never considered your upbringing, your experience as a student, as a child. You just blew me away with.
Yeah, I mean, I am the students in Fort Worth ISD.
You are.
First day of school last year, I walked into a classroom and I sat down with a little girl and I say to her in English, "Can I sit next to you?" And she's in kindergarten. And she says, "Yo no hablo inglés." And I said, "That's okay." And so I tell her in Spanish, "That's okay because I didn't speak English either. But guess what? You're going to learn English and you're going to speak two languages really, really well." And she just looked at me and smiled. I am the children. They are me. That's what's most important. Everything else is on the side.
Golly.
You just have to keep that focus on them.
I'm just blown away by your perspective on that. We talk a lot about leadership. And so when there is a transition, whether expected or unexpected, you've been shepherding leaders right across your district, and they're going to have feelings and emotions. How do you reassure them about the work? And because you just made me feel like she's got this. She's got this no matter what happens. How do you ensure that they don't lose focus because they're worried about you or they're worried about transition or anything else?
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part.
Okay.
And, that's a conversation not only with them, but even at home.
Yeah.
I continuously tell my husband, don't watch the board meetings. Don't listen to public comment.
Right.
Because it's very different. Because it's me, I'm fine. But I know that if someone was saying horrible things about him, I would have emotions about it. So just continuously reinforcing we're doing the right work. We're seeing gains and amazing gains early on. Of all the large urbans outside of Houston, which is in a very different predicament.
No doubt.
In a year where the entire state just had significant declines in STAR and EOC, Fort Worth ISD did not. We stayed steady. Now the media will say we stayed stagnant, but that's because it's outside of context.
Of course.
In a year where everyone else dropped, if you stayed steady and you grew a little,
that's a win.
That's a win.
Yes.
So you have to point to that to staff. Like, we're doing the right work. We have almost a 90% graduation rate and almost 87% of them are graduating career college military ready. Focus on them. We are changing lives and changing trajectory to lead to generational wealth for the children in Fort Worth. That's where you have to focus, and don't worry about me. I learned a long time ago. I think I was an assistant principal, and our assistant superintendent in Socorro ISD at the time, Dr. Lopez, said to me, "Be loyal to the cause, not a person." And it really stuck with me. The cause is changing lives of children.
Yeah.
And so don't focus on me, focus on kids. And I think that'll help the transition. If they can just stay focused, continue doing, we're on the right path. And if we've built your capacity and we've put in the systems in place, it doesn't matter who the superintendent is.
That's right. You know, I often wonder, in particularly with Fort Worth, when you look at the numbers, when you look at the growth, when you look at the trajectory, I think to myself, what is it? What do y'all want? I am delivering. They are delivering. The team is delivering. The staff, the superintendent, delivering above and beyond. What is it that y'all want? What do you have to be upset about? And I because I get angry knowing all of the work that goes in, and I'm biased. You're a friend, and
Sure.
you're a great leader. So it mystifies me. Like I'm doubling what I told you I was going to be able to do. As an aspiring superintendent coming through the ranks, what would you tell somebody about, like, you can deliver above and beyond, and there's still things that are out of their control?
Yeah, I think larger context, right? Conversation and discourse around public education. Very little of it is actually focused on truth.
Yes.
And so telling aspiring superintendents, that's why we need you. You do it anyway. Anyone who sits in a seat, and not even the superintendency, like sits in an interview, needs to understand you are 72 hours away at any time of getting fired. But if you are doing right by children and you're putting them first, and you hold your head high when that 72-hour meeting gets posted. You just do. And people will see, and they will continue working for our students. In the last few days, I stopped counting the amount of emails and texts, emails from staff, from custodians, from safety and security personnel, from teachers, from principals. Over and over again, the refrain is, we saw that you saw us. You saw children as humans that needed better, and we're going to take that forward. Like, thank you for being you. Outside of the end of the story,
Right.
because it doesn't end. The school district continues. We're in our 7th week. Children still need adult champions. We still need to embrace parents as equal partners in the work, and we need to improve lives. And so I would tell aspiring superintendents, we need you. Is it scary? Yes. You need to have a serious conversation with your family to make sure that you and your family are ready. Get off of social media, except for school things. Get off of Facebook. Don't read the blogs. And be authentic to yourself. It's not a job, it's a calling. And leadership is a lifestyle.
There's no doubt.
And don't let the crazy times we're in stop you. We actually need you more.
I love that. What are you most proud about? Your time in Fort Worth. What are you most proud about?
Man, it's probably not necessarily an achievement. It's being in a very large school district with 140 schools, walking campuses multiple times a week, and the kids know who I am. That's what I'm most proud about. That I can go into a campus and students are like, it's Dr. Ramsey, and we have a connection and an understanding. Having students say to me, you look like my mom, or will you be my mom? That's what I'm most proud about, that I took the superintendency from this nebulous thing to just being a human being that cares about kids. And I think that's what I'll take away.
What's next?
Ooh, good question. Just, you know me, I'm always honest and transparent. I don't know. I don't know what's next. I think I need the rest of the weekend just to kind of sit in this.
Yeah.
Monday is my last day. Anything I'm doing, I give it my 100%. I can't think about that until after Monday. And that's such a weird little mental thing, but it goes with how I can compartmentalize things. I can't actually think about that until it's done. So I'm going to have a great last day. And then I think Tuesday I'll probably wake up and go on a walk and just think through what is next. I'm not done
No.
by any
By
means.
far.
So I'm hoping, that there's another opportunity where I have
I think there will be. Come on, let's get real here.
where I can serve children and just continue giving back because so many people contributed to my success.
I want you to know this, and because we do know each other, but we haven't had a great deal of interaction. But I have been following for quite some time, and as other colleagues have mentioned, just check out the work. It just it's so impressed and just. It is not normal for people to be able to handle with the grace and still deliver to kids the way you have done. That is a very rare thing, and I you are a model not only for the next generation but for the current generation. For people like me, I have said time and time and again, and I've had a lot of offers to go back into the role, but because of my experience the first time, it's been no way, no how, and having a conversation with you is making me here on the spot just reconsider
Yeah.
that.
Our
piece.
children need you, and we're not alone. I think that a mistake that many superintendents make, especially that first superintendency, is not reaching out and not asking questions and not asking colleagues and just saying, I don't know how to handle this. Can somebody help me out?
Yep.
I've never, ever in 8.5 years reached out and not had people grab on
Yeah.
immediately and let me send you something in writing and this is what I did. Let's think through this together. That's what we need to be better about,
Yes.
and support one another. And shoot, something I just started this year. I text people just out of the blue. I need nothing. I just want to say hello and I hope you're having a good day, because we don't even check on one another.
No.
We talk about mental health. We talk about ensuring that everyone else is fine. Rarely does anyone check on you. And we have to do that for one another.
You're absolutely right. And in full transparency, I waited way too long to start using my network to help. I think because even though I knew I did the right thing, I was still embarrassed. I didn't know what my friends thought about me. I was worried that has all my work been to this point, and now that there's something that I can't say anything. I
Yep.
have no way to defend myself.
Yeah.
What will people,
Well, we're not used to failure.
it was the first
right?
time.
Like
Yes.
we're not in these positions because you're used to it. But we continuously tell students
I know.
failure is part of the process. It is okay. But we hold ourselves to this other standard when it is okay.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. You learn lessons. You have to reflect. You take ownership of your piece in it. You grow from it, and you're better off for it. And the next school district will be better off for it too. Let's do it.
You I asked you to join me in hopings that I needed this more. I'm being honest. Like
Yeah.
I needed this more than and I truly appreciate you spending some time with me. And
It's been my honor.
I I have no doubt there are people lining up. So you have done an amazing job. You have done an amazing job for Fort Worth, and you're going to continue to do an amazing job.
I appreciate you.
And thank you so much
No,
for
you're
being a part of
welcome.
this
Thank
show.
you. Thank you.
Got it. And if you like what you saw, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional, but please hit the like and subscribe. And you know, wherever she lands, if you want to be with a great leader, Angelica Ramsey, I promise you, you will be well placed. You will be fulfilled, and you will serve students. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.